for the final time this Saturday from Randy Orton's hometown in St. Louis, Missouri, the last real champion of WWE, the now record-breaking 17-time world champion John Cena will face off against his arch rival, who, for those of you that are a little bit maybe newer to WWE or newer to professional wrestling, Randy Orton and John Cena is like Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock. It is like Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns. It is a rivalry that anytime these two get in the ring, it feels different. It feels special. They know each other's moves. It's generation versus generation. It's the same OVW, Ohio Valley Wrestling class. These two guys, it's just if you tell me I'm going to get John Cena versus Randy Orton, I know it's going to be absolutely special. Before we get to the main event in Randy Orton's hometown of St. Louis, Missouri, let's get through the rest of this card, which to me looks really good on paper, especially with only, what, a 2-3 week build to this PLE coming off WrestleMania 41. We obviously have a lot of WrestleMania implications. That's why it is called Backlash. We start with Gunther and Pat McAfee, the one non-title match on this card. This came about after Gunther, the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania, attacked Michael Cole and Pat McAfee. They're being upset for the way the Raw announce team was making fun out of him. Of course, we know Pat McAfee was always yeeting and making fun of Gunther, and we know Gunther and Pat have history. Michael Cole basically calling Gunther a sore loser. Gunther attacking Michael Cole, Pat McAfee coming to the rescue of his broadcast partner. And the angle they're doing here is that Michael Cole, he is obviously the GOAT. For as much as anybody wants to say that Jim Ross is the greatest wrestling commentator ever, I'll hear you on it. I think Michael Cole, for the longevity, I mean, you can't think of WWE at this point. I mean, anything you've heard in WWE over the last 28 years, for the most part, has Michael Cole's voice on it. And I've called Michael Cole and Pat McAfee before the Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler of this generation. I think Pat McAfee brings insane energy. I know a lot of people don't like him. I get it. His show, as he rightfully says, can be a clown show sometimes, but Pat is like the perfect example of what a WWE color commentator should be like, in my opinion. Pat's had two main matches on the main roster: Austin Theory at WrestleMania 38, Baron Corbin at SummerSlam 2022. Now, he did wrestle at WrestleMania 39 against The Miz in a random match where he wasn't really prepared for, and George Kittle came out and helped. But it's been over 2 years and almost three for the most part since Pat McAfee has had a build to a legitimate match. And I think Gunther being jealous and enraged for the fact that he lost focus. He did not take Mr. Yeet seriously enough, and now he needs to refocus, like he told Pat McAfee this past Monday night on Raw. I feel bad for Pat because I think the Pat McAfee show on Monday, Pat may be doing it from a hospital. I can't wait to hear Michael Cole's emotion on this call. I think they should bring back Corey Graves for this call. We know Corey and Pat, a little bit of history there. For the most part, Pat McAfee coming back to commentary after college football season is the reason why Corey Graves is now on NXT. Which, much as I like Wade Barrett, I'm sorry, I get it. There's too many chefs in the kitchen. You could have had Pat and Corey and Cole as a three-man booth, or Joe, Wade, and Corey as a three-man booth. I think putting Corey Graves down in NXT is almost like Greg Olsoning the man for Tom Brady. I think Corey's great. I think obviously his playful rivalry with McAfee would add a lot to this story. I think Gunther, he may notice he's going to choke Pat McAfee out. I think this is going to be a fun, entertaining match. Anything Pat does is fun and entertaining, let's face it. But I think Gunther sends this man to the hospital. I'm going to say Pat McAfee passes out to his sleeper hold. Gunther does not let go. The Women's Intercontinental Championship match. Now, this came about after the current Women's Intercontinental Champion, Lyra Valkyria, teamed with Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 41. She needed a tag team partner after Bayley got mysteriously attacked by somebody to take on Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Becky Lynch answered the call. Manhandle slam to the former women's world champion in Morgan. 1, 2, 3. We have new women's tag team champions. But the night after WrestleMania 41, after Raquel Rodriguez takes out Becky Lynch in oblivion to the current Women's Intercontinental Champion, 1, 2, 3, the tag belts go back on Liv and Raquel, and Becky Lynch delivers a manhandle slam followed by an attack to her fellow Irish woman. They are both from Dublin, Ireland. They obviously had that rivalry in NXT over the NXT Championship. Now they are here, and I must say, Lyra Valkyria has some okay matches. With the now released Dakota Kai, which is crazy that she was in the first ever match for the Women's Intercontinental Championship, and now she's no longer with WWE 4 months later. Life comes at you fast. But I think that Lyra's promo work, you know, against what the IWC has said, I thought Lyra's promo work here with Becky Lynch going into this match has vastly improved her mic skills. You could tell she's comfortable with Becky. Lyra has always been good in the ring. We know the Intercontinental Championship for the men has always been the workhorse title, so Lyra seems like a good fit for that model with the way she wrestles. She just needs to improve her promo skills. She's coming off as a very sympathetic babyface here, and I like the fact that Becky Lynch is saying, listen, I've been the women's world champion. I main evented WrestleMania 35. I was Becky Two Belts. I've done everything in this business. The one of the first I have not done because it wasn't available to me is hold a secondary singles women's championship, and she is jealous over the fact that Lyra Valkyria took that spot from her. Becky Lynch has been gone for almost a year on a sabbatical, and these young women have seemingly passed her by. And I think that this is a good change of direction character for Big Time Bex or the man, however you want to say it. I think Becky, to be honest with you, is more comfortable as a heel than a baby. Now, Becky has already told us that we're not going to do the Jade Cargill Bianca Belair storyline here. That she did attack Bailey. I do wonder if Bailey makes the return here, and maybe she attacks Becky Lynch and it's a DQ and Lyra retains the championship. But I personally want to see Becky Lynch with the championship. I want to see her make the Women's Intercontinental Championship something and do a storyline where she did something with the championship that Lyra could not do, and that was make it equal to the Women's World Championship. So I don't know if any other titles on this show have a good chance of changing hands, which is why I will go with the new Women's Intercontinental Champion here in the main. Let's talk Dominic Mysterio Penta. The men's Intercontinental Championship is on the line. We know Dominic Mysterio pinned his Judgment Day teammate in that fatal four-way at WrestleMania, but Penta, as Braun Breaker has now moved on to this new faction with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman. You have Dom and Finn Balor still fighting in the Judgment Day. Penta still wants the Intercontinental Championship, and these two men had an Intercontinental Championship match on the Raw after WrestleMania. JD McDonough returned and interfered and helped Dominic Mysterio retain the Intercontinental Championship. So from my perspective here, I said after WrestleMania that the babyface reaction Dominic Mysterio got at WrestleMania, it may be time to think about potentially turning Dominic and the Judgment Day face and having Finn Balor be the heel in their eventual rivalry. So far, they have not gone that case. Maybe that's because there's more babyface options for Dom to challenge for the Intercontinental Championship than heel options. We've seen Finn Balor jealous of Dominic Mysterio and his run as Intercontinental Champion. We know that AJ Styles and Finn Balor face off next Monday on Raw. So I do not think Finn Balor is going to cost Dom the Intercontinental Championship here. Now, Penta has not lost clean yet in WWE. I think that will still be the case. Again, I think Judgment Day interferes. Something will happen where the men will help Dom retain the Intercontinental Championship. Finn Balor will not be happy about it. But I think the turn from Balor happens while Dominic Mysterio is the Intercontinental Champion. And whether it's Finn as a face versus Dom as a heel, or Dom as a face versus Finn as a heel, I'd like to see that as the Intercontinental Championship program here as we move into the spring and summer. So Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest had a vicious Sin City Street fight at WrestleMania 41. Jacob Fatu and LA Knight had one of the best matches on night one for what it was worth for the United States Championship. Now you put all four of these men in a fatal four-way match, and it's bound to be absolute carnage. I predict Drew McIntyre to once again get his chance to Claymore LA Knight. Damian Priest either attacks the referee or drags McIntyre out of the ring. He does something to cost McIntyre his shot at the United States Championship. LA Knight can then hit a BFT on Damian Priest, but it will allow for Jacob Fatu to take advantage. DDT, splash, wild carnage here. It will be an incredibly fun match, just like the fatal four-way for the Intercontinental Championship was at WrestleMania 41. But I do think Jacob Fatu is going over here. Jacob Fatu, along with Dominic Mysterio, they're still trying to play him off as a heel, and I think the crowds are not falling for it. And Jacob Fatu, when he turns on Solo Sikoa, is going to turn into a massive babyface in this company. Now, do I think that feud needs the United States Championship? I do not. There could be a scenario where Solo Sikoa down the line costs Jacob Fatu the United States Championship somehow, where a bigger name defeats Jacob Fatu because the Samoan Werewolf has not been pinned yet in WWE. Uh, but in my opinion, at the end of the day, I do not think that um, Jacob Fatu gets in here. I don't see LA Knight or Drew McIntyre or Damian Priest being that guy to finally dethrone Jacob Fatu. I think it's going to be a bigger name. Not saying those guys aren't bigger names, but it's just the overall fact that, in my opinion, those guys are still in the mid card, and it does kind of suck for LA Knight. The fact that he's been in a lot of these multi-man matches, he's taking a lot of the falls, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, he's still super over with the crowd. It's just not his time here. Then we get to the main event. One last time. John Cena, Randy Orton. They started in SummerSlam 2007. They went to Unforgiven '07. They went to No Mercy '07. Then they added the No Way Out 2008. The WrestleMania 24 Triple Threat with Triple H. The Backlash 2008 with Hunter and JBL with those two. Then you have the Night of Champions 2009 triple threat match, the rematch from WrestleMania 24 with Randy, Cena, Triple H. SummerSlam '09, Cena Orton. Breaking Point '09, the I Quit. The Hell in a Cell match at Hell in a Cell. The Iron Man match, which is one of my favorite matches of all time, at Bragging Rights 2009. Many matches thereafter. Randy Orton and John Cena, like I said at the top of this thing, like Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes. They are wrestling soulmates. And this could be, to my knowledge, the first time that these two men have hooked up in Randy Orton's hometown of St. Louis. I know it's their first battle since 2017 when Randy Orton was a member of the Wyatt family. Rest in peace, Brody Lee. Rest in peace, Wyndham Rotunda, aka Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt. Hard to believe they're both no longer with us. But we have not seen Cody Rhodes since WrestleMania 40 and Randy Orton, or WrestleMania 41, I should say. And Randy Orton has said, John, I know you're out here to ruin wrestling. I know you think you're the last real champion, but wrestling has given me everything I had. You're the one that taught me hustle, loyalty, respect. Why are you turning back on these people now? John Cena, of course, knows Randy Orton's history. He says he's defeated Randy Orton more times than Randy Orton has defeated him, which is actually true. I think maybe the only two big matches Orton has defeated Cena would be the 2013 TLC and the 2014 Royal Rumble following right after. Maybe Hell in a Cell as well. And Orton did win at SummerSlam, so you know, they're probably pretty close. Again, I don't know the exact statistics by number. It'd be interesting to find out. But These two men need no introduction. It's just Cena, Orton. You know there's going to be RKOs. You know there's going to be punt kick attempts. You know there's going to be a super RKO. You know there's going to be a super AA. These two men are going to put on a classic. They made a big deal about it being in Randy Orton's hometown of St. Louis. I do wonder how they screw Randy Orton out of this undisputed WWE Championship match. I don't suspect seeing the American Nightmare at this show. I don't think we're getting the final boss. I don't think we're getting Travis Scott. It may be just as simple as John Cena threatening to hit one of Randy Orton's kids. You know, Randy's got some older kids now who I think one of them's in training. Maybe Cowboy Bob Orton's in the audience. Maybe a lot like Randy Orton punk kicking John Cena senior years ago. Maybe Cena pulls Cowboy Bob Orton out of the crowd and gives him an AA. I mean, I'm not even fantasy booking here. I think it could be a real possibility. Maybe Cena uses brass knucks, some sort of cheating. The referee's distracted. Cena goes back to the doctor of thugonomics, brass knucks gimmicks. I don't know. There's going to be a rep bump. There's going to be some controversy. There's going to be some interference. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a hell of a main event, and the last real world champion will be retaining and moving on to Money in the Bank in the Intuit Dome in June to defend his undisputed 17th World Championship. So to recap, I have Gunther defeating Pat McAfee by submission. I think he sends Mr. McAfee to the hospital. I do have Becky Lynch with a disarmer submitting Lyra Valkyria and winning the Women's Intercontinental Championship. I do have Dominic Mysterio retaining the Intercontinental Championship over Penta. Judgment Day will help with interference. I have Jacob Fatu pinning LA Knight in the Fatal 4-Way, retaining the United States Championship. Damian Priest will cost Drew McIntyre the match at some point, and there will be interference. I think there will be physical contact with John Cena and Randy Orton's family. I think John Cena may Randy Orton's father, Cowboy Bob Orton, but the last real champion of WWE, the 17th-time world champion, John Cena, will retain his championship, and what I predict will be an instant classic. Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.